And it's my privilege to introduce this wonderful personality who has been practicing bhakti yoga for more than 50 long years, a disciple of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. She's a teacher, she is an author whose mission in life is to spread the joy of Krishna to everybody. And she did that through her profession of being a teacher for close to 3 decades and a principal for close to 2 decades. So thank you very much, Mataji, for helping us meditate on Krishna again and again. I'm personally very grateful to you because we run a school for children and we seek a lot of inspiration and guidance from your books and from wisdom you impart. With these words, over to you, Mataji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. First, I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual teacher. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Visesa Sindhavani Paskatyade Satarni. So World Meditation Day, I was thinking, can be understood as also not only that the world should meditate, but that we can meditate on the world. We learn from the Srimad Bhagavatam, also called the Bhagavad Purana, that the universe, the world, is the body of the Lord. Materialistic and spiritualistic is really a question of consciousness. We can say it's also behavior. There's materialistic behavior and spiritual behavior, but that behavior stems from consciousness. If one has materialistic consciousness, one will engage in materialistic behavior. If one has a spiritualized consciousness, one will engage in spiritual behavior. A spiritualized consciousness means that we actually have a kind of walking functional meditation, not just sitting down and meditating for some minutes or some hours every day, which is also certainly significant and important and helpful. But that we have a kind of way, a meditative kind of way of dealing with the world, a meditative vision in dealing with the world. It's not that those who meditate, well, okay, I'm going to have my meditation time, and the rest of the time they're in materialistic consciousness. If their meditation doesn't spill over into their general vision, then there's something wrong with the way that they're meditating. It should change their life. It should change their consciousness. So we're going to look now at some verses from the Bhagavatam, especially the 2nd and the 8th canto, although these things are also mentioned in the 12th canto, many places in the 10th canto. We're going to just referencing 2nd and 8th canto verses, but again, we'll find this all over. I'd like to start with something that was said directly to Krishna by one of his devotees, Queen Kunti. And she was talking directly to Krishna. He was right in front of her. And she calls him, O personality of the form of the universe. He's the personality of the form of the universe. So we're going to see what this means. Now, I would suggest that those of you who are participating, that as we go through this list, you write down which of these, pick at most 3 of them, that you would particularly like to incorporate into your life so that your life can be a functional walking meditation. And by the way, we also have a book. Obviously, I can't sell that over Zoom, but we also have a book if you want to go more deeply into this type of all-encompassing meditation. It's called Krishna Meditations, and it's written by myself, Urmila Edith Best, and we have a co-author, Kamala Sita. It's available from Golden Age Media in Delhi. It's also available on Amazon. It's available from Golden Age Media as paperback. It's available on Amazon as paperback, hardbound, and Kindle book. So the first thing is that fire is the mouth of the Lord. When we accomplish, whenever we are in touch with fire, that is actually the Lord's mouth. If we think about a voice, whether it's a voice in our mind, a silent voice in our mind, or an audible voice, it's like a fire. It can be used to warm, to transform, to purify, and also to destroy and turn things to ashes and smoke. Now, that destruction isn't always bad. Turning ignorance and difficulty and sadness and grief into ashes may also be a very good thing. Sometimes Krishna's words may seem harsh and destructive to materialistic people, but to those who love the Lord, to the devotees, his speech is always warming to their hearts, and it lights their path through the darkness of ignorance. So his skin generates the Vedic hymns, right? When we want to touch someone, we contact their skin. And when we want to connect with the Supreme, we recite the Vedic hymns, including Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Vedic hymns are also the cerebral passage, the passage from the brain to the spinal cord. So the Vedas are the brains of a religious community. It's the spiritual knowledge of any tradition. And without it, our spiritual community would not have the flow of awareness through the cerebral passage, and thus would not be able to function. So the Vedic mantras comes from his words. We can certainly hear Krishna if we want to say, I want to hear God. We can hear him through the Vedic mantras because he directly spoke those mantras. And in those mantras, he tells us how to approach him, how to find him, how to access him. Even if these mantras are chanted with our voice or someone else's voice, the sound is actually the voice of God speaking through them. So his tongue is the productive center of different foodstuffs and delicacies for offering to the demigods, forefathers, and general people. So our tongue receives food, and Krishna's tongue creates.
Do you want macaroon? I don't want it.
Someone needs to mute.
That small I had, but Vidhu Priya told me to finish it.
It's interesting that this food that's produced from the Lord's tongue is not meant just for our personal enjoyment, but for us to share with others. The whole universe is geared for sharing. It is said that how much money we have in this life is dependent on how charitable we were in previous lives and in this life. Generally, the universe favors sharing. Krishna favors sharing. Those who share, those who are generous, those who are kind, those who are giving, are themselves going to have more abundance. Krishna is going to give them abundance because he knows they're going to use it rightly. They're going to use it to share. So our food that we get, it's actually all of the Lord's mercy. Now, of course, it's interesting that in the Hare Krishna movement, we offer our food to the Lord. So before we eat, we say, Krishna, you eat. You could think of this in many ways, just like people who have servants. So first the masters eat, and then the servants eat. So you could think of it like that. We see Krishna is the master, that we are the servants. But even if you want to see things more intimately, if you're sitting with your friend, so you may offer your friend to eat first, and then you will eat. So as Krishna eats it, he also leaves it there for us to eat as well. It's not that he eats it and then it's gone. And it's said that the food that Krishna eats has the taste of his tongue on it. The taste the taste of God is mixed with the food. So this is true for food in general. It's coming from the Lord's tongue, and it's especially true for food that we've offered to the Lord. And the let's see if I can turn this up on time. That's a little better. So the juice or essence of everything, that means rasa, is his tongue. So rasa it's a very difficult word to define here. It's defined as juice or essence of everything. And Krishna certainly enjoys offerings when they're made with love. And from the Lord's enjoyment of the rasa on his tongue comes all the rasa in our life. Actually, anything that we enjoy on any level, physical, mental, intellectual, emotional, anything that we enjoy is actually coming from the tongue of the Lord. And the Lord wants us to enjoy him directly out of love. We want this also. Anybody that we like, we want them to enjoy our company in a loving way. We don't want them to enjoy our things by stealing them from us. We want them to enjoy our things with us and in love for us. So this is also how Krishna feels, and all enjoyment is therefore coming from his own form. Whenever we enjoy anything, if we enjoy it meditatively, to smell, to taste, to touch, to see, to hear, if we do that with a meditative attitude, that what I'm enjoying here is the taste of God. And said the greed is on his lips. So our lips become greedy. We're greedy to talk too much. We say things we shouldn't. We're greedy to eat too much. We eat the wrong kind of food. So Krishna also has greed on his lips, but it's a transcendental spiritual greed. What he's greedy for is the happiness of all of us. He's greedy for us to experience love and satisfaction and purpose and meaning in our life. So his smelling powers create the Ashwini Kumar demigods. The Ashwini Kumar demigods are the celestial doctors and all of the medicinal herbs. So whenever we're not feeling well and we take some herbs and we feel better, that fragrance of the herbs that we put in our herbal tea or our different medicine, that smell is actually coming from the smelling power of God. It's his breath, his smelling, his fragrance. And also in the Lord's nostrils is the wind. So the wind blows away smog and pollution. It can also spread pollution or wildfires. But wind brings a change. It brings changes in weather. It brings changes in circumstances. And when the wind is actually Krishna taking a breath through his cosmic nostrils, whenever we feel the wind, that is a sense of connection with the Lord. And his nostrils generate our breathing. So just like for our own body, each of the cells in our body has to breathe. You know, each cell is a living being with its own life. We may not think about that very much, but each cell in our body has its own eating and its own breathing, its own physiological functions and its own psychological functions also if it's alive. But all these cells can only breathe because we breathe. So when I breathe, that is allowing that oxygen to go to all the living cells and the carbon dioxide to flow out of the living cells. So although my cells in my body are probably not conscious that I exist, I doubt if the cells in my stomach lining or in my blood vessels that they know, oh, there's an Urmila and I'm part of her body. They don't know that. But actually, I at least don't think they know that. But they're dependent. Without my breathing, they cannot breathe. So we're all cells in the universal body of God. And we're just breathing. We may not be conscious that we're part of this universal body and that our breathing facility is because the universe is breathing, but such is actually the case. So his sense of smell is fragrance. So again, my fragrance, my nose receives smell, and his nose creates smells. You could say, well, what about the bad smells? But even the bad smells, they're there for warnings. Our smell is our primary sense to tell us what's fresh and what's pure and what's dangerous. All the kind of fragrance are coming from his breathing energies. So my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, one time said that even if you don't study the scriptures, even if you don't have a guru, you can still find God in the fragrance of a flower. And then the air is his breath. So in English, we have two words, breath and air. That breath is the air moving in and out of the body, of a living body. And we think of air as just simply inert gases, just matter. But actually, the Lord's breathing is the air around us. It's full of his prana, it's full of his living energy. And when we are breathing, we are not just breathing certain chemicals, but we are actually breathing in the living energy of God, just like our breath is full of our living energy. And how amazing that Krishna's breath, right? It's giving oxygen to some, and nitrogen to others, and carbon dioxide to others, according to what they specifically need for their own physiological growth. So his eyes generate forms. So my eyes see forms, and his eyes create forms. And all of us, we think, any living being, there's kind of a light in our eyes. I once years ago read a story of this one man he worked for the government, and he would trap and kill predator animals that were killing off people's farm animals. And one time he went out to one of his traps with his 10-year-old son, and the animal that was trapped died in front of them. And the 10-year-old son said, "Why did the light go out of his eyes?" And the father writing the story said, from that moment, he decided he didn't want to be a killer, and he changed his profession. So if that's true on a very small level with all of us, that there's a light in our eyes. So Krishna's eyes are full of light. They're glittering and illuminating. In fact, his eyeballs are like the sun and the heavenly planets. When we have eye contact, it carries with it great power because it establishes a connection between two people. And we living beings, we have such a connection with Krishna. Not only is our companion within our heart, but he's also observing us in his universal form through the sun, the moon, and the higher planets. So through the sun and the moon, he witnesses our activities. They're his eyes. And when we're looking at the sun and the moon and Jupiter and Venus and so forth, we're actually making eye contact with our beloved Lord. And outer space is his eye pit. So my eye pits are just bony things. They're kind of morbid, I suppose. But with Krishna, his eye pits are full of wonder, vast and beautiful and mystical. Dark outer space is Krishna's eye pit, and the sun and the moon again are his eyes. So his eyeballs, the sun, is the power of seeing. So in the same way that we only breathe when he breathes, we only see when he sees. This is something that Prabhupada wrote and spoke about a lot, that if it's fully dark, we can't see. Our eyes are dependent on the sun or the artificial light that comes indirectly from the sun. And that is because first the Lord has to see with his eyes, the sun and the moon, and then we can see. He has to breathe and then we can breathe. He has to eat and then we can eat. He has to smell and then we can smell. He has to see and then we can see. And his eyelids are day and night. So when his eyes are open, it's day. And when it's closed, it's night. We can think when we're waking up in the morning, Krishna is opening his eyes. And when we're going to bed, he's closing his eyes. And he's arranging for our rest and relaxation and our normal cycle of life. This is one I really like to meditate on. That sunrise and sunset are the moving of the clothes of the Lord. So the Lord has clothes that are kind of a orangey yellow color, and his own form is dark blue. And so when we see the sun rising and setting, we can just almost imagine Krishna moving through the sky, his yellow cloth fluttering, his golden helmet glittering, as the dawn light shifts from yellow to copper to gold. His golden saffron colored clothes fold over, his dark bluish form like the sky and sunlit clouds as day and night join together. And gradually everything becomes hidden, right? The sun is there beneath the twilight, but we can't see it. Just as, anyone's body is hidden beneath their garments. So the Lord's beautiful, shining and attractive form is hidden under his garments, flowing like the sun. This is his cosmic dance. On Krishna's neck is all the sounds. So sometimes we see birds moving their neck and they make sounds. So the Vedic sounds start with Om, and these sounds are moving up the neck and out of the mouth of Lord Brahma, and also of the universal form, creating all the wisdom and forms in the universe. So his ears hear everything, and especially the Vedas, just like we especially will hear the sound of our own name. And his ears create all of the sounds. So whatever we hear, any sound we hear, right now where I am, it's extremely quiet. But maybe wherever you are, there's some sounds in the background. Maybe there's traffic sounds or bird sounds or people talking or different machines. And all of those sounds are coming from the ears of the Lord. Actually, our ability to understand space comes from our ears, especially our inner ears. They give us the ability to understand our position in space and what is space around us. From his steps come the fire of sacrifice. So this is called Havyam Karma Bihi, or the offering of yagya, the offering of a connection, a ceremony of connection of our worldly responsibilities. This means that everything we do in the world can be a kind of ceremony of connection, can be a spiritualized process to connect with the divine. And in his touch is lust. So anyone who understands this is careful who they touch and when they touch, right? So the Lord also has touch. And the desires that the Lord has that are kindled and increased through his touch are a pure love and total eternal satisfaction. So the hairs on his body are the cause of all vegetation. So we can get some idea of how beautiful must be the Lord's hairs. You can stare at any vegetation or a tree and you just look at the branches and the leaves, perhaps the flowers and the fruits. And these are just one of the Lord's hairs. Imagine if we could really see one of the hairs on Krishna's eyebrow. And it is so beautiful and so well formed that we could certainly look at it eternally in a deep meditation. So this is again a meditative way of thinking about the vegetation on the earth. When I look out my window, I see a rose bush. I mean, it's winter here, so I can see some of the last roses that tried to bloom, but were cut off by the winter. But it's still very beautiful, and to think of this rose bush as one of the hairs of the Lord is a meditative way of not just, oh, I'm walking past plants. And the trees are the hairs on his body. So all of us have experienced that there'll be some little bug walking on our arm, right? And we can kind of feel it because it's touching our bodily hairs. And I like to meditate on this when I'm walking around and walking among the trees, because when you walk outside, even in a city, there are trees. And this, that we're walking on the form of the Lord, that it's a very intimate and close relationship with him whenever we're walking among the trees. And the clouds that carry the water are the hairs on his head. So Krishna's hair is usually described as dark. And of course, many times the clouds, if they're storm clouds, then they're going to be dark. But many times, I mean, here, I don't see very many clouds through my window right now. But many times the clouds are white, and we can say, but how is Krishna's hair white? So it's described in the 10th canto that when Krishna brings back the calves or the cows from the pasturing ground into the village, that they kick up a lot of dust, and this dust gets in his hair and makes his hair look white. It's also explained that when Krishna's fighting on the battlefield with evil persons, that the dust from the battlefield gets in his hair and also looks white. And the drugs and the herbs are all the hairs on his body. So we know that the potency of the drugs, we already learned, comes from his breathing. So it's like he's breathing on his hairs. And the hairs are these different drugs, and then their potency is the smell of his breath. Yeah, people may think, oh, it's just a matter of working with different chemicals. The plants or modern pharmaceuticals, which are synthesized, either they're directly derived from plants or they've synthesized the chemicals from the plants. But actually, the potency is because it's coming from the body and the breath of Krishna. So from his nails come electricity. So whenever you turn on your phone or your light switch, that's actually the touch of the Lord's nails. And here we have the working animals on his nails, the horse, mule, camel, and elephant. So there's not that many parts of the world anymore where these animals are used for working. I mean, certainly in the Sahara, they were using camels. I saw in Guyana and Suriname, they were using mules and horses to carry carts. We see this also in India. In Thailand, they still use elephants for working. So our nails are like tools, right, that we're using for working. So these working animals, they're on the Lord's nails. And his nails also have all the stones. So, I mean, so many times a day we'll look at our nails, but I don't know, my nails are kind of very ordinary. But Krishna's nails are jewels. It's something we can remember, of course, when we look at our own nails, but also if you look at people who've painted their nails, you know, they try to make their nails look like emeralds and rubies, and sometimes even stick little stones on their nails. And we can remember how Krishna's nails are actually all of the stones and all of the jewels. So wild animals are on his belt zone. So our belt holds our clothing up, kind of keeps us together, right? So a few months ago, I was at an airport and they made an announcement. Someone has left their belt at security. If your pants are falling down, please come to security and pick up your belt. So the wild animals actually hold up the ecosystem. I mean, we're destroying the habitat of so many of these animals or killing them, and we're upsetting the whole balance. You know, our figurative pants are falling down in terms of taking care of the planet. If you want to explore this a little bit, there's actually, it's interesting. My grandson just 2 days ago sent me a different video on the same topic. So evidently there's more than one. But if you look up on YouTube about wolves in Yellowstone National Park in the United States. So they had killed all of the wolves long ago, and then some time ago, they decided to reintroduce a pack of wolves. And their doing so changed the whole ecosystem. It changed the grassland into forests. It changed the course of the rivers, attracted so many other animals, actually pretty astonishing. His feet protect us from all kinds of fear. So this is something that I like to meditate on when I'm walking on uneven ground, right? Where we're really paying attention to our feet. You all have this experience, right? With the grounds, really uneven, or it's very muddy, or, something that's not quite safe, then all of our attention just goes to our feet. And we can remember how Krishna's feet give us protection from fear. So the reins are his semen. So normally a male can produce offspring of the same species. But Krishna says, Aham bija pradapita. I am the father of all living entities. And the rain, of course, is creating directly and indirectly all the different species of life. And in his semen were all the waters. So according to Ayurveda, our reproductive fluid is the most concentrated energy part of the body, and it's designed to create a new life. And the waters, which are the concentrated form of the Lord's energy, they're the essence of life in our bodies, our food, our air, everything. We're alive, we're nourished, we're cleansed, we're functional because of water. This water is Krishna's potency and full of vitality. So how we can meditate on the divine even when we're on the toilet. So the universal form also has an evacuating organ that gets rid of envy, misfortune, hell, and death. Just like in our body, our evacuating organ gets rid of various toxins in our body. And his teeth are Yamaraj, the god of death, who punishes the sinners. So, of course, Arjuna saw this fact in the Bhagavad Gita. It explains when he saw the universe as the form of God, he saw the soldiers rushing into the mouths of this form of the universe and being smashed in his teeth. So Yamaraj reminds us that even though things may seem unjust and unfair in this life superficially, that actually justice is perfect and administered by Yamaraj. And then affection is his set of teeth. So when Krishna is looking at us with affection and caring for us with affection, so we can, it's like you're seeing his teeth smiling at us. Right? I mean, our smiles indicate some level of affection, but Krishna's visible teeth, when he smiles, is the height of love and joy. And then the back of the Lord is where there's frustration, ignorance, is immorality. I mean, it seems contradictory that immorality, frustration, and ignorance, which imply a disconnection from Krishna, is also part of Krishna's body, but it has to be so because that's how Krishna is the complete whole. Yes, there's a place for us even when we're forgetting him. There was a airplane pilot once when Prabhupada was on a plane who came back into the cabin, and they don't seem to do this anymore with the security measures, but you can put the plane on autopilot and you have your co-pilot there, and the captains used to walk back into the cabin of the plane sometimes. So the captain was walking back and he saw Prabhupada, and there was an empty seat next to Prabhupada, so he sat down and he was asked, if God is all good, why is there evil? And Prabhupada said, evil is on God's backside. So when we do evil, or when anyone does evil, they're in the body of the Lord, they're on the body of the Lord, but they can't see him, they're in the back. So the rivers and the rivulets are his veins. These are the channels of life-giving liquid that deliver nutrition and remove waste in our bodies. And the huge rivers of the world, they define the country's borders, they provide for human habitation, they allow for the migration of animal herds, they bring goods from surplus to need. They're the main blood vessels of the Lord, the messengers of his heartbeat of life itself. And his bones are the great mountains. So our skeleton provides the structure of our body. Without it, we have no stability. We really wouldn't have much of a form, and we wouldn't be able to physically function on the surface of the earth. So the mountains are stable and majestic, and their structure and form is giving shape to the earth. So his arms are the productive fields for the great demigods who are protecting the general mass of people. So whenever we are protecting others and taking care of others, or anyone is doing so, they are acting as the arms of the Lord. On the Lord's arms are the great celestial rulers like Indra, but also the Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas means like the police officers, the social workers, the lawyers, the judges, the politicians, all those who are supposed to work for the protection and justice and law and order in society. Now, Krishna has many qualities, and one of them is that he's very shy. And this shyness is in his upper lip, like kind of like this, you know. I think we can see Krishna's shyness in the fact that he hides himself so that we can imagine nature to have arisen of itself. We can look at nature and not see God, like an artist that hasn't signed its painting, his painting. But even though he's shy, Krishna is very grateful when we acknowledge his craftsmanship in the world, when we see, oh, there's his power, his grace, his intelligence in this world and in his eternal realm. So hankering is his chin. Sometimes when little children want something, they stick out their chin, right? So Krishna doesn't really hanker for or desire in the sense that we think of it, because he's complete. There's nothing that he needs. And what he wants is playful exchanges with his devotees. So on his heart is religion, or dharma. Dharma means what is true, what is authentic, what is our essential nature. And the heart is about the essence of a person's life, what is most precious. If we want to live in alignment with how the cosmos is running, with the purpose of creation, that means to be in the heart of the Lord and very dear to him. Then on his chest is truth spoken pleasingly. So anybody can speak harsh truth, but when we speak truth pleasingly, then the Lord is holding us to his upper chest, and we're right touching this heart of Dharma. And then also on his chest is the goddess of fortune. So when we speak pleasing truth and follow Dharma, then we have all good fortune in our lives. Also on the Lord's chest are all the stars. So Krishna often wears necklaces that glitter like stars, and he likes to put necklaces on his devotees that also look like stars. And actually the stars in the sky, the actual stars, they are indeed his necklace. And the ocean is his waist. So Krishna is always dancing. And when he dances and moves, there are 3 lines on either side of his belly that move. So when we go to the ocean, any of you who are near the ocean, you go to the ocean and you see the waves and the ripples. Those are the movements in Krishna's abdomen as he is dancing. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. In his beat, to a beat and a rhythm. The passing ages are his movements. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, time I am. And how do we measure time? We measure time by the movements of objects in relationship to each other. How does the earth move in relationship to the sun, and so forth? And these movements are actually Krishna's movements. And we can feel that Krishna is moving through our life as the passage of time. And the supreme cause of material creation is his intelligence. So there are many immediate causes or intermediate causes, but the supreme cause is Krishna's intelligence. Actually, in every religion, it's acknowledged that there's intelligent design in the universe, that we can see the hand of God in intelligence. Just like if you want to take something extremely simple, let's take something very simple here. So I have a pen here. It's very simple. This is not a complex thing, but still, to make this pen required a lot of intelligence. So it's made with metal. That means that it was a mine. Somebody had to find a mine and go down into the mine and get the metal and refine it and mold it in a certain shape. And then we have the plastic, which was also taken from the refinement of petroleum. And that had to be refined, and then it had to have colors put in. Here, it's made to look like wood. So there was some artistic endeavor there. And then I don't know where the ink comes from, but there is I mean, it's complicated, really, although it's very simple. It couldn't be made by a 2-year-old. It couldn't be made by a monkey. So what to speak of a living cell? One living cell is more complex than the greatest city like Tokyo or London or New York. And so definitely everything is done by intelligence. And in his intelligence is Lord Brahma, the great demigods, and the great saintly persons. Whenever we interact with saintly persons on this earth, we're actually dealing with the Lord's intelligence. And then his mind is the moon, which is the reservoir of all changes. So it may appear that Krishna's mind is always changing towards us. It may appear that, oh, sometimes Krishna likes us very much, sometimes he doesn't like us. Just like the moon appears to be changing, but the moon isn't really changing. Actually, the moon is constant. So in the same way, Krishna's affection for us, his care, his concern, is actually constant. And Rudra is his ego. So Rudra means anger. Now, when we get angry, most of the time when we get angry, it's because of our false ego, because we're thinking that we're great and we're important and so forth. And when someone challenges that notion of ours, we become angry as a way of defending our identity. So we may ask, does Krishna have an ego like that? So not exactly. I mean, anger can also be loving. If you see your child dealing with something dangerous, and you go, hey, stop that. That is Krishna's ego. Yes. And Krishna's ego is in giving us the kindness to try to work in this world and to see for ourselves what we really want. So a variety of birds are indications of his masterful artistic sense. So this is something that's very easy to meditate on because most of us are in touch with birds every day. We see them and or hear them every day. And birds show artistry in their colors, their shapes, the iridescence often of their feathers, their courtship dances, their flying patterns, even their waddling patterns if they're penguins, their sounds, even the ones that go caw caw, kind of like percussion in a symphony, in the way that masterful way that they build their nests. So in so many ways, they show that Krishna is an artist. And humanity is his residence. So Srila Prabhupada would often say that the main difference between humans and the animals is that humans have some kind of religion, that every human society has some kind of religion. And whether it's a temple or a church or a mosque or a synagogue, we call our place of worship the house of God. So this is actually the residence. I mean, God is everywhere, but he especially lives in his house. And the angels are his musical rhythm. So in every culture of the world, the angels are always shown as musicians. And this is interesting. The demoniac shoulders show his prowess. So there's a nice conversation between the demon Hiranyakashipu and his son. So although Hiranyakashipu was so powerful, his little 5-year-old boy was more powerful. And Hiranyakashipu asked his son, where do you get your superhuman power? And his son says, I get it from God, just like you do. Everyone gets their strength from God. So even those who are evil, they have to be pulling strength from God because that's the only place to pull strength from. His thighs are the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas are those who provide all of the food, all the raw materials for food, for clothing, for construction. And our thighs, right, has the biggest bone, the femur bone, which is supporting our whole body, just like the Vaishyas. And the Shudras are under the protection of his feet. So the Shudras are those who provide all the support and the functionality and the beauty and the pleasure of society. They're the ones who make things work. So in this painting, in this slide, you can see Sudama the florist in Mathura. So this is Shudra work. And Krishna is very pleased with him and says that he will gain all happiness in this life and all liberation to the spiritual world in his next life. So it's nicely explained that those who work in this field, that they have a mentality of service. They want to please customers or clients. And because of this, they're directly under the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, and everyone else can learn something about service from them. So we see the sky also in his navel. So it's stated in the third canto that the whole universe has come from the navel of the Lord, and the navel looks very deep, like the universe wants to go back. When we look at the great sky, we can think about how we're looking at the navel of the Lord. The upper planets are on his chest, and his eyebrows are the rules of behavior. So when we're doing the right thing, it's like Krishna's doing this. When we're doing the wrong thing, it's like he's doing this. On his forehead was anger. So sometimes when we get angry, our forehead crinkles. And I think, when I'm angry, it's like I'm stuck in a little ridge on the Lord's forehead. So I'm close to him, but I can't really see him. So on his shadow is death. So you can say, how does Krishna have a shadow? He's all effulgent. But when we turn from him, we experience his shadow and we experience death. And his smile is the illusory energy. So in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna becomes an illusion, and he's so distressed because of his illusion, Krishna takes him between the armies and he smiles. Of course, this illusory energy can be Mahamaya, the illusion of forgetting Krishna and wanting to compete with him. And it can be Yogamaya, the spiritual sweetness of forgetting that Krishna is God and just wanting to relate to him as the wonderful cowherd boy of Vrindavan. And as I said, we are all cells in the body of God. So one should respect everyone. That doesn't mean that we have to respect everything everyone does, or that we have to be friends with everyone on an external level. But we respect that everyone is part of the body of God. Therefore, we deal with everybody with respect. So I want to stop here. So we have some time for questions. And maybe people could write in the chat box which of these they want to meditate on in the next week.
We are not
Maybe.
allowed to write. I tried to write and I couldn't.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, we can just take some questions then. Anyone have any question?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Mataji, I was carefully listening to you and I want to convey my heartfelt gratitude. I mean, when I listen to you, when I see you, my thoughts for Prabhupada, how amazing he must be. It is more than 5 decades. We see you, this level of enthusiasm, such clarity, and the way you speak, the way you share bhakti. It is super inspiring, Mataji. If I can spend the rest of my life expressing gratitude for you, it would still not be enough. I mean, I when I observe my own personal life, it is really difficult to maintain consistency, grow spiritually. But then when I look at you, in this age, enthusiasm, conviction, love for Krishna, really, Mataji, I sincerely pray for your blessings. And if I can adopt even a drop of your mood, I think my purpose of being a human would be accomplished. Please, Mataji, keep me in your blessings. I really want to serve, really want to, uh, with all my heart and spirit, serve Srila Prabhupada and become a pure devotee. And by just looking at you, listening to you, I'm absolutely convinced. Not just I will make my own life successful, but if I constantly listen to your lectures, I can also help others. Super grateful to you, Mataji, from the core of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. But do you have a question?
Yes, Mataji, I do have a question.
Okay.
Mataji,
Thank you for all your kind and encouraging words. I appreciate that. But I want to know, do you have a question?
yes, I do have a question, Mataji. My question is little off the topic. I just wanted to know and understand. Uh, it has been 4 years that I've been chanting 16 rounds, but I've realized that the importance of holy name or scriptures, because I'm always doing it, I'm listening to it. Sometimes it comes down. How can I ensure that the philosophy always stays alive in my heart and I maintain my enthusiasm like how you're doing? This is my question, Mataji.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, Srila Prabhupada actually would say that if you allow questions off the topic, then there's no end to it. And so he really didn't like questions off the topic. To give you a very, very brief answer, what you're asking for is nishta. How can you experience steadiness? And the answer is until your anartas are 40 to 70% removed, depending how you want to analyze things, you're not going to be steady. And so you just simply have to tolerate that. It's just like, let's say you were learning some skill in the world. You're learning how to dance, you're learning how to play an instrument, and you're still a beginner. 4 years, you're still a beginner. I mean, you don't have to be a beginner just because it's 4 years. But if you're not steady, then you're in the kanista, which means not steady phase. How can I become steady? You're going to become steady when you get rid of your anartas. How can you get rid of your anartas? By wanting to get rid of your anartas. Most of us don't want to get rid of our anartas. Most of us don't want to get rid of our false ego. We're attached to our false ego. That means when someone corrects you, when someone tells you that you're not perfect, celebrate. Yay, I'm getting rid of some of my anartas. Okay, does anyone have any questions on this presentation? I thank you for your question and your kind words, but I really want to focus if anyone has any questions on this presentation. So we have Ragini Sudevi. Ragini Sudevi. Yes, do you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Accept my humble obeisance at your divine lotus feet.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, now we are knowing from the scriptures about Krishna and everything, but certain situation it comes, we fail to remember Krishna. So how we should manage that situation? How we should depend on God?
Do you then remember a little later? Do you remember a little later that you didn't remember?
Not clear, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so you're in a situation where you don't remember Krishna. Do you realize later that you didn't remember Krishna?
Yeah, yes, sometimes.
Okay. So after some time you go, oops, I forgot Krishna. Now I'm remembering him again. Am I correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Some situation comes, that situation will be remembered. We will be remembering that situation.
No,
We
no.
cannot.
So you're in some situation and you're forgetting Krishna. Whatever it is.
Yeah, that situation due to.
Okay. You're in a situation where you're forgetting Krishna. And then a half an hour later, you think, oh, when I was in that situation, I was forgetting Krishna. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yes, Mataji.
Okay. So then at least you're remembering him later.
Yeah, later we will be remembering all the scriptures from Gajendra Moksha, like all those.
Celebrate when you remember. Wow, I'm remembering Krishna now. And don't beat yourself up for the times you forget. Celebrate whenever you're remembering. And then your mind likes celebration. All of us, we all like celebration. And so if you keep celebrating, every time you remember, like kind of note it and go, oh yeah, I'm remembering. And then you'll end up remembering more and more and more. So we have somebody is sharing a whiteboard, and I don't know what's going on here. This is very interesting. Okay, Prananath Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Dandat Pranam, all grace to Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada and you and all Vaishnavas. In your conclusion of the lecture, you had mentioned about seeing Krishna everywhere, like in devotees, when we deal with devotees. So many a times it happens there are some devotees who have hurt us very badly. So they are devotees, but then when we face them, the thoughts come and we, though we try to forget it, it comes up again and again. We can't see Krishna's hand in that, or because of our ego or what. So how do we handle that situation?
Hmm. Well, I'll teach you a little mantra.
Okay.
It's called Mare Krishna Rake Ke, Rake Krishna Mare Ke. How did the children sing that? If Krishna wants to save you, no one can kill you. If Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you.
Yes.
Nobody has the ability to hurt us. That's in a way that's not our karma or the will of God. That would be an unfair universe. If somebody hurts us, that's either we deserve that by our karma or it's the will of God. So if it's bothering us, then we don't see that everything's ultimately benevolent. And we also are filled with pride that we're thinking, I don't deserve to be treated like this. I'll pretty much guarantee you that those who have mistreated you don't realize that they've mistreated you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, yes.
Sometimes, I mean, you have sometimes really evil people who are like, who can I hurt today? You know, but that's an exception. There are people like that. There definitely are. There are deeply evil people who are sadistic and psychopathic. But most people are not like that. And so most people, they're not really understanding that they're hurting others. They're thinking that they're just accomplishing this or that. And they are either not aware that they're hurting others at all, or they're aware of it, but they think it's kind of collateral damage for what they're trying to accomplish. So in a similar way, we may not be aware that we're hurting others. Unless you just lived in a hole in the ground your whole life, you have probably hurt others. And my guess is that a lot of the times that you've hurt others, you had no awareness they were hurting them. And if they told you afterwards that you had hurt them, you'd be very surprised. Or maybe you were aware, but you thought it was just collateral damage to what needed to be done. Well, this needs to be done, and some people's feelings are going to be hurt, and oh, well, too bad. This is what needs to be done. And if their feelings are hurt, it's their problem. And maybe sometimes you actually wanted to hurt people. So why are we so surprised that it boomerangs back to us? We're surprised because we think that we're innocent. We're not. Just like these other people think that they're innocent. And then, you know, you see that actually whatever's coming at me is coming at me because Krishna is allowing it. And he's allowing it because I'm doing this in some other form, probably to somebody, some form that I can't recognize. And you can ask Krishna, show me how I'm doing this to others, maybe in a very different way, maybe in a way that I don't see. And if you're not putting that out to others, then it's some lesson. It's a lesson in humility. It's a lesson in tolerance. Maybe Krishna wants you to change course in your life. Prabhupada started a center in Jhansi, and then the governor's wife took it away because Krishna wanted Prabhupada to leave India and come to America. And we're very glad that he did. So you can look at it and say, well, this was terrible. He should have been treated nicely in Jhansi, but actually we're happy he was mistreated in Jhansi. Now, if people are regularly inconsiderate, and then we're told that we should respect them if they're devotees, we should respect them as devotees, but not associate closely with him, not be their intimate friends. So that, you know, one has to make a decision like that.
Yes, it makes sense. Everything like what you said, I could assimilate. Now my thing was that how to like whenever I see them, okay, I accept whatever karmas or whatever. But when I
And well,
see
then
them, that means
you don't, because if you did, then you wouldn't have this problem whenever you see them. You're accepting it intellectually, not actually accepting it.
it takes a little time. Like over the period, like it's okay, but
It
When bad
may,
feeling
it
strikes.
may, sometimes it may take some times, especially if the people have hurt us very badly. And Krishna says even a sadhu has difficulty resettling his mind after being insulted by uncivilized persons. So, these things are disturbing because they threaten our existence. We think if people don't like me and they're not nice to me, then how will I get anything to eat? Seriously. And so our brain goes into, the fight or flight mode. But kind of step back from it. Step back from it. Be the observer. And just look at this, my brain and body are thinking this way.
Thank you so much,
Again,
Mataji.
Krishna, thank you for giving me a lesson through these people, and look at the people and say, may you learn through joy, because you want to learn through joy. So I want them to learn through joy. May you learn through joy. May you rectify through joy. Krishna, may I get the lesson from here, and may these people learn through joy. All right, it is after 10, so I need to get going.
Yes.
I hope
Any
it's
chance
helpful.
of you coming to Jew temple, Mataji?
Juhu? I don't usually go to Juhu.
Okay.
But I do like to go to Chapati.
Chopati, okay.
I haven't been to Mirror Road in a while. So if I'm in Mumbai again, I might go to Mirror Road and to Chapati
Okay.
Temple.
We'll have your darshan in Mumbai whenever
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Well, in Juhu now, do the women give class?
Jew? Acha,
Um,
about okay, Mataji's.
do the ladies give class now in Juhu?
Not yet, but the youth programs, they have
Well,
proper
when the
disciples.
women are giving class, then you can ask the leaders to invite me.
Okay, okay. Because the
Right?
youth leaders, they have proper disciple seminars whenever
Well,
they
very
know
good.
proper
Anyway,
disciple.
when the temple actually, so like
Okay.
Prabhupada's a wheat threshing machine, it's going to thresh wheat in heaven or in hell. So I'm a wheat threshing machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll
So
come to
if
Chopat wherever you are giving in Mumbai, I'll come there.
there's a facility for that in Juhu, then I would certainly come to Juhu.
Mataji,
All right.
when you are coming to Mumbai?
Huh?
When you are coming to Mumbai?
Probably like September.
September, okay. Actually, at Mumbai Kharghar Temple, we are inaugurating uh, in January only. So we thought that we should invite you.
Yeah, I got the invitation, but I'm not in India. I'm in America.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that, Mataji. We are calling all Prabhupada disciples, Mataji, across the globe.
Well, if you want to have some like magic carpet, I could come by mantra.
Yeah.
It's like
Having
boom.
them in America, are you?
But otherwise, I'm not in India at present.
Yeah, I
I
know
just
that, Mataji.
I just
We
came
wanted to
back
invite
from
you.
I just came back from traveling just like 3 days ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much because I have been always following up in your Back to Godhead magazine for the last
Uh-huh.
20 years, whatever articles. I loved it very much. It was very
Oh,
enlivening.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, so I want to thank Govardhan Eco Village for arranging
Thank
this.
you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Thank you.